There's one right there, guys. There's one right there. Oh, looks like a nice bass, guys. Look at that one. That is on a Wacky Rig 0. That is a nice fish, fellas. Look at there's one with him right there. Look at that big one with it, guys. Look at that. Look at that. It's a male and a female right there. There's a big, big fish behind it. I don't know if I got the male or the female. Look at that, guys. She's trying to get back over that knock. Get her in here. Boy, man, that's a nice fish. Nice fish, guys. Strike King 0 on a Wacky Rig, man. That fish inhaled it too. Let's see if we can get the hook out without hurting it. Look at that, folks. Just inhaled that thing way down inside. If we're really careful here, we should be able to get this out. Let me get my pliers. I don't want to hurt this fish. The old Wacky Rig, fellas, got us a nice fish. We just want to be real careful with her here. Down there in that started her esophagus. We want to back it out. We got it, guys. No harm, no foul. Beautiful fish, guys. Look at that. She's been caught right here before. Advocate of catch and release returned that fish for me, and I got a chance to catch it. What a beauty. Fish go about 3.5 pounds. All right, baby, you get back and do your thing. Hello folks, today on the Anglers Experience we're going to be fishing for largemouth bass. It's the late part of spring right now. We're going to be targeting post-spawn bass on docks with a Wacky Rig. At the same time surveying the shoreline to see if there's any bed garters left. So you folks stay tuned, this should be a fun show. Yeah. That is an absolute beast. 35 pounds or so. It's a big, big fish. What a beauty. We're gonna put this fish back. Yeah! That is awesome.
The Anglers Experience is proudly sponsored by Crestliner, leader by innovation. Strike King Lure Company, #1 in fishing lures. Setter Rods, the American way. Sidewinder planer boards, fight the fish, not the board. Vibey Lure Company, blade baits for serious anglers. Tobler Marina, your one-stop boat shop. Easy Loader, all boat trailers are not created equal. Oxart, your single source supplier. Lincoln Electric, the welding experts. And Honda Marine, it's all about power.
She just sucked it up. Look at that, guys. Oh, that's a nice fish right there. That fish there was still on the bed. I switched baits here and I went up to just a little tiny, I got a little tiny soft plastic tube tied up here. Went away from that Wacky Rig 0 in case we came across any bed and fish. And I tell you what, this fish here just ate it up. Right there. Look at that, guys. Look at this little tiny jig in this fish's mouth that we caught this thing with. Right here. Look at that. That is one of my favorite bed fish baits right there. Look at that little tiny, tiny tube bait. Beautiful bass. I threw the Wacky Rig in there a couple times and they just didn't really care. So I went ahead and threw that little tiny, tiny tube in there, and that was just enough to aggravate them into striking. Beautiful fish. All right, let's get that one back out there so we can go over and guard the bed. Beautiful markings on that fish. There he goes. Well, folks, we put a little change up to him, and that's what it took. I was hoping we might get out here and see a few left on the beds. I think we got a few males guarding them. We're going to continue to wacky rig, but if we come across the bed, you can guarantee that little tube right there is going to get in there and aggravate some strikes. All right, let's see if we can get another one. Folks, one of the things I like to do when I'm fishing for bedfish like this has to do with my line. And a lot of times when people bedfish, they want to use them on a filament. I like to use my 6-pound fire line, attaching a piece of 6-foot, 8.5-pound Reel 4 Flex leader. The reason why I like to keep my fire line on there is because we're visually fishing these bass. When I cast in and that bass picks that bait up, they're going to pick it up and try to blow it off the bed to get it off of there. You've got a split second to set the hook once that bait disappears. With a monofilament, by the time you set that hook, you've got an extremely high amount of stretch in there, and that fish is going to be able to spit that bait before you can get the hook in there. With this braided line, this fire line, as soon as I see it, I react, set the hook, and there's no stretch at all. It gets right into their mouth and it sticks them. The other key thing is a long rod. Something in a 7-foot, 7'6", nice long medium action spinning pole. What that does is it gives me leverage. When I see that, I'm able to set the hook, pick that line up off the water, zero stretch. I get a lot better hooking percentage that way. So if you're having problems with those bedfish spitting your bait out before you can set the hook, try this longer rod and that fire line, and I think that'll cure the problem for you. Oh, there's another one, guys, right off that bed. Swimming out. Oh, nice jump. Tell you what, folks, they do not like that little tiny white tube in their nest. Nice jump. Tell you what, folks, it don't get any more fun than that. That is just too cool watching them come up and hit that thing. There's a little short, fat guy right there. He was up there on that little bed. As soon as that thing hit the water, man, he just smoked it. Easy, Bubba, don't hurt you. Nice fish, right in the top of the mouth. Little tiny hook too plays an important role there, folks, because they'll take a bait. I'll throw him back in here. They'll pick that bait up and spit it out just like that, boom, real quick. And if you're not on top of it, you'll miss them. And the two benefits of this white little tube here is, one, it's small, so when they suck it up to spit it out, they get it down in there quite a ways. But the other thing that it's got going for it, it's got a big wide gap hook I put on here, and it's a small wire hook, and when they go to spit it out, it actually will get stuck in their mouth, so it gives you just a little split second to get that hook in there. But that white just allows you to see it when they come in and suck it up. It's lightweight, so they pull it in deep, they try to spit it out, it rolls up and hooks them right in the lip every time. So that's another little key with that little guy right there. All right, let's go get another one. This is just too fun. Folks, there's a fish right up here on a bed. I don't know if we're gonna be able to get it or not. I made a few casts in there and it doesn't really want anything to do with me. We'll see here, we'll try a few times. Sometimes you gotta be persistent on these beds. The water's about 62, 63 degrees, and these fish that are up here right now are mainly the males that are in here guarding. See if we can get this fish to strike, but that's just a prime example. We're going along with the wacky rig, fishing structure, docks and whatnot. We come out here in the open, there just happens to be some fish on the beds here still. And looking at it, guys, he's looking at it. He's looking at it. I'm just leaving it sit there. I'm not doing anything. You see him he's nosed up right now, just checking it out. Come on, Bubba. But prime example, we're going through with the wacky rig, and sometimes I've got 4 or 5 poles rigged up here in the front of the boat. And sometimes it pays. You know, if you don't have 4 or 5 poles, maybe you got 2. Always have something rigged up that's just a little bit different, especially this time of year, a little tube bait like this. You know, just in case you come across the bed, you can change up. You don't have to retie anything. You can just cast it right out and you don't waste any time. That one went right down in front of its face right there. This lake gets a lot of pressure, and I'm pretty sure that this fish has been hit pretty hard, and it looks like he's pretty wise. Got light line on here. I got about 8-pound test line so that the fish can't see the line. Everything's subtle, little tiny jig, but You can see him flaring around there. He just does not care much about that jig. Now he's coming. He's looking at it now. He's looking at it now, guys. He's looking at it now. Just barely twitching the tail on it. Come on, Bubba. Come on. Get it out of your nest. Folks, when you're rigging up this little Strike King Bitsy tube right here, you want to insert a jig head into there, but you just don't want to use any type of jig head. What you want to do is you want to use a round ball style jig head like this. Now a traditional tube jig head like this is built much differently. What you can see, the lead is placed along the shank and the eye is placed in the center. What this does is it lifts the bait up and then forces the bait to glide forward. When you're on a bed and you're working in an area that's this big, you want very little gliding of the bait. So with this guy on a ball head pulling straight up, this bait's going to hop up and come right back down in the same area where you lifted it up from. And that's critical. With a gliding head like this, you're going to make a couple of jigs, and that thing is going to glide off the bed. You're going to be out of that bass's zone. So use that guy right there, and that'll keep you right where you need to be. He's actually looking at it right now with his left eye. And they see three-dimensionally with one eye. What they do with two eyes, they can just silhouette. So that's why he comes up to it like that and turns. He's looking at it with one eye. Got him, guys. We got him. Look at that. Oh, awesome jump. Guys, that bait sat in there for probably, I don't know, 3-4 minutes, maybe 5 minutes. And that's what it took, that little tiny tube. Oh, that is awesome. I want to bring him in fast because I don't want any little critters to get over there in his nest. So I'll bring him in quick here. We don't want to hurt him. Come on. Oh, one more jump. Right there. Guys, I want you to look at something here. You can tell this guy's been defending his nest. If you look at his chin right here, you get that, look at that little tiny tube just sat in there long enough and finally just aggravated him. That's what people do. They flip it in the bed and they don't wait long enough. You just got to be patient, outlast that fish. But let me show you here. You can see he's been defending his bed. See how his chin's all chewed up? That's from driving down into the ground and driving things off and picking things up. All right, let's get him back in there. We don't want to hurt him. Get him back there to protect his bed. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. Go do your job. See ya. Well, folks, he'll turn around. What always amazes me about this, we sit here long enough, that fish will turn around and he'll go right back to that bed. He knows exactly where he needs to be. And that's why it's important when you catch these fish off the bed, get them in as fast as you can, because as soon as you move them off the bed, bluegill, perch, anything that's a predator is going to come in there and try to eat those fry. Bring them in quick, don't handle them a bunch, turn them loose, get them back, and they'll go right back to that bed. They'll protect those fry, and we'll have fish to catch for the future. That was awesome.
Done.
Got it, Mick. Got him. Another one, guys, right off that other bed right there. Another bed. Oh, man, what a pleasant surprise this is. Thinking I'm going to wacky rig the docks all day, and I come across these 3 beds in a row here, guys. That tiny white tube, I'm telling you, is deadly on these beds. That's a little trick I picked up when I was down in California bassing. A lot of guys down there use them little white tubes, and we brought it back here to the Northwest, and I tell you what, it does work. Everybody's throwing big worms and lizards at these fish. We come in here with a tiny little bait, and this is just after a big weekend, folks. So I know this lake got hammered, and these fish just haven't seen a little tiny white tube like this. All right, partner, look at that little tiny tube. Work it out of there, don't hurt him any. Look at that little tiny bait for a nice largemouth. All right, Bubba, go back and do your job. Thank you. Go right back over to that bed. All right. Checking it out with one eye, looking at it with its right eye. Not quite sure what to think here. Got him, guys. Look at that. I mean, that took forever and a day. But patience, I tell you what, you just got to be more patient than the bass. That is a nice fish right there, too, guys. Man, he's a nice. Ooh, don't get up in there. I got pretty light line on here. I don't want to horse him too much. Come here, Bubba. Look at him down there. That is just beautiful. Come here, partner. Oh, nice jump. Nice jump. Come here, buddy. We'll get you back on your bed, I promise. Look at that, folks. That might have been what took so long. If you look at his right eye, or his left eye, excuse me, he's actually blind in that eye. That's why I was wondering why he kept analyzing with his right eye. Well, it's because he's blind in his left eye. Right there. All right, Bubba. Thank you very much. Go back to your bed, partner. No. Right back over there where that bed was at. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Folks, something that's happening here, and this happens a lot. You see it, you know, and some people just aren't aware of it, and some people just aren't seeing it. And what's happened, we've got a boat out in front of us, and then I've got a bass boat out to my left here. And both these boats came through here, and we were fishing on the other side. And I knew that this was good spawning grounds over here. And I watched them fish down through here, and they're just going through with spinner baits, plastic worms, and they're just ripping down through here real fast. And what's happening, they're catching a lot of small fish, a lot of the smaller, you know, 1-2-year-old fish. And what I did is I just waited for them to leave, pulled in here. And the thing that you gotta have when you're doing it, especially this time of year, our water temperatures around, anytime you're getting around 60 degrees, you're gonna see fish on beds. But you gotta have an excellent pair of polarized glasses, and you gotta be able to spot those beds up against that grass. You're looking for that bleached out area, and then you look into it, and you'll see just a little bit of color in there, and that's the bass sitting there. But both these boats blew through here, and they're fishing fast, and we came right in behind 2 boats and caught 2 big fish. So that's just something to keep in mind. Just because somebody's in front of you, don't get frustrated. A lot of times they're missing fish, and they're using big baits, and this time of the year, it's small stuff on beds, and it's working. Have you been looking? Don't like it. Checking it out with one eye. Not quite sure what to think here. Got him. There we go, guys. I got him. Good bass. Good. Oh, there's a rope. Oh man, guys, that's all bad. This is light line. Let's see if we can get him out of there. There we go, guys. Come on. Tell you what caught that fish right there, guys. I've been working on this fish for about 20 minutes. And I flipped back in there. That is a nice fish, guys. We got little bits of tube right now in his mouth. Look at that, guys. That was a nice bass right there, guys. Look at that little tiny tube in its mouth right there. Folks, what had happened, I've been working this fish, and it has picked the bait up, and I literally watched it grab the tails of this bait and just spit it back out. So what I did, I'm going to throw this fish back here, get it back on its bed. But what a beauty. That one there go about 4.5 pounds. Nice, beautiful fish. All right, let's get it back on its bed here. Thanks, Bubba. You're a beaut. Go do your thing. There it goes. Folks, what had happened there, we'd flipped into that fish. We'd probably been working that fish for around 20 minutes. And what was happening, that fish, being as big as it was, they can come up so gentle, and they grabbed the back of this right here. That's all he did a couple times, is just grab this. One time I set the hook, and I thought that I saw the bait disappear, but he had just turned sideways on it, and I pulled it away. So what we ended up doing, because he was just coming up and gumming it and realizing that it wasn't real, I took my favorite scent, and I use this all the time bass fishing, my Dr. Juice tournament scent for bass, and I just sprayed the living tar out of this thing. And the very next time in there, he come up to it, nosed up to it, smelt it, realized, hey, that smells like something real, and just engulfed it. And that's one of the things you got to do when you're sight fishing like this. And I had been setting up, and I just kind of got away from it there, and obviously I didn't have enough on the bait. So coat it down before you flip it in there, and always pay attention to that white. Don't do like I did. Wait for that white to disappear, and then set your hook. So just a little trick for you. Coat that guy down, get that big fish off that nest. That's awesome. Got it, Mick. Got him right there, guys. Come here, Bubba. Good jump. Beautiful fish on that little tiny tube. Tell you what, folks, it's been one heck of a day. We started out wacky rigging, come across some beds, used that little tiny white tube, caught us some beautiful largemouth. Tell you what, folks, if you get out there spawning and you see some beds, you can't beat that little white tube right there. It'll work wonders for you. Tell you what, we're gonna put this fish back so it can get back on its bed and take care of its nest. I wanna thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you next week.
For a list of today's gear and techniques, log on to axfishing.com and select AX Journals.